17-year-old girl was on. Chapter 1. On a rainy day in September, drizzle moisturized a mountain town and washed clean the stone streets with a refreshing earthy smell in the air. An 18-year-old girl was on her way to the principal's office at the only high school in the town center. She dressed austerely, but it did not hide the fact that she was beautiful. However, her emotionless eyes made her look sullen and unapproachable. Mr. Barrett, here comes Nicole. Class teacher, Ms. Mills, led the way for Nicole. Nicole Wallace looked at her with some surprise, wondering why Ms. Mills was suddenly so nice to her. Ms. Mills was someone who placed great importance on family background in the selection of class committee members. Let her in. The principal was equally excited. Even his voice was a little trembling. Nicole slowly chuckled as soon as she stepped into the principal's office. It turned out to be because of him. On the VIP sofa in the principal's office sat a tall man, dressed in an expensive suit, looking like a social elite, but his facial features were like hers. Nicole was studying the man just as the man was studying her. He initially planned to go to the hospital with her for a DNA test, but now it seemed unnecessary. She was a dead ringer for her mother with the same fine facial features and fair and delicate skin. Her beauty was hard to conceal, even if she dressed casually. Yet the most striking thing was her eyes. Ads by Pub Future. She was only 17 or 18, but there was a hint of unfathomable iciness in her eyes. Seeing him staring at herself, Nicole frowned and asked, "Who are you?" She had always known that she was not her grandmother's biological granddaughter, and she had thought that one day her birth family would come looking for her. She thought her biological parents would come. This man was way too young. A hint of frustration flashed in the man's deep-set eyes, and he said, "I am your elder brother." Nicole, why have you never mentioned to us that your brother is the general manager of the Riddle Corporation in San Jato? Mr. Barrett could not help but say. Nicole rolled her eyes secretly. She had just learned that, for God's sake, 3 years ago, her parents had died in a car accident, and only then her grandmother told her the truth. She was adopted by them when she was a child. No wonder her adoptive parents had been so cold to her and left her in the countryside. After the death of her adoptive parents, her grandma registered her at the welfare office, waiting for her biological family to come to reunite with her. Nicole did not expect that this day would come, much less her brother was the general manager of Riddle Corporation, a famous name in San Jato. "Are you really my brother?" Nicole had a hard time believing such a plot twist. "Yeah, you have 4 brothers besides me." The man named Sean Riddle spoke gently. 4. Nicole frowned. It turned out that things were far from what she had imagined all this time. She could hardly imagine what it would be like to have 4 elder brothers. It would probably be noisy. Seeing that Nicole was deep in thought, Mrs. Wallace Sr. said to Sean politely, "Nicole is more introverted. She needs time to adapt. Hope you don't mind." Mrs. Wallace, "I won't mind." Sean got up with a polite smile and then took out a gift box from his backpack. "Nicole, this is the first time we met. This is for you." Mr. Barrett quickly stood up and tried to butter Nicole up. "It is so nice of your brother. Nicole, you should accept the gift. I can see that you and your brother are really close. Please remember your classmates and us after the school transfer." Ads by Pub Future. Kogda ona nachala tansivat. Psi shai posvora chivali. Kogda ona nachala tansivat. Psi shai posvora chivali ad. Hearing Mr. Barrett's words, Sean's face turned stony, and he glanced back at Mr. Barrett and said indifferently, "Mr. Barrett, Great Oak High School has nurtured my sister for so many years, and we will return the favor by donating money to build the campus." The Riddle family would owe no one debt of gratitude. Mr. Barrett's eyes lit up. "That is great. Thank you, Mr. Riddle." His brother's generosity impressed Nicole, who at last accepted the gift out of politeness. Mr. Barrett gave some more flattery talks before he and his head teacher saw them out. There was a Rolls-Royce parked up in front of the school, surrounded by other luxury cars, which had long attracted attention. Regina Wynn was stopped by her buddy as soon as she got out of a car. "Regina, here you are." She rolled her eyes at her buddy, yet her attention was on the Rolls-Royce. "Whose car is that?" As the daughter of a member of the school's board of directors, she got all the attention all the time until today. "When this Rolls-Royce came along, I heard that the general manager of Riddle Corporation came to our school." Riddle Corporation, Regina thought. It is San Jato's biggest corporation. Even my dad couldn't find a way to work with them. What is the guy from Riddle Corporation doing here? Invest in this poor school? No, I heard he came to pick up his sister. Pick up his sister. Regina was stunned. Are you sure about that? Why would someone from the Riddle family want to study at this goddamn school? While the two people were talking, behind them, the principal and a group of head teachers were accompanying a tall man and Nicole to walk out of the school. "Regina, the tall man is the general manager of Riddle Corporation," her buddy said with a trembling voice. Regina was astounded as she turned around. If that man was the general manager of Riddle Corporation, then the girl next to him should be his sister. But that girl turned out to be Nicole, the bumpkin she hated and despised the most. Regina's face changed drastically. She could not believe that Nicole was actually from the Riddle family. Chapter 2. Regina was not in the same league as Nicole, both in looks and studies. She even did not expect that her family background which she had always been proud of, was completely eclipsed by Nicole's, and this made her feel jealous to the extreme. Get in the car, Nicole. In full view of everyone, Sean helped Nicole open the car door like a gentleman as he looked at her with gentle eyes. He is so charming. If only I could have such a charming and rich brother. Yeah, I'm really envious of her. Regina listened to the discussion with the jealousy and hatred in her surging like a stormy sea. So, she deliberately shouted, what is there to be proud of? She is just a bumpkin. She thinks she can be a social elite overnight. Nicole was about to get into the car and paused when she heard that. Now, even Sean's eyes had darkened. What the hell are you talking about, Regina? Ms. Mills looked displeased. Mr. Barrett recognized this daughter of a board member, but he still could not afford to offend the Riddles. He immediately rebuked Ms. Mills. Is this the student council president you have appointed? Nicole promptly fanned the flame. Ms. Mills, the behavior of student cadres affects the school's image. The next time you select someone with a brain, not just someone who could pay you. Ms. Mills did not expect Nicole to mention that she received monetary benefit by appointing the student council president. Right now, she felt a burning sensation on her face because of the humiliation. When she removed Nicole and appointed Regina to be the student council president, she had gotten a green light from Mr. Barrett. Seeing Nicole displeased, Sean glanced at Mr. Barrett and said in an icy voice, you know what to do, Mr. Barrett. Thinking back to how she had helped Regina look for trouble with Nicole all these days, Ms. Mills' face turned pale immediately. Mr. Barrett immediately scolded her. Shame on you, Ms. Mills. He then turned to C. I will fire her immediately, Mr. Riddle. Ads by Pub Future. Ms. Mills was dumbfounded. So did Regina, realizing that her position as the chairman that she bought with money had ended. Let's go, Nicole. Sean pulled back his gaze, and his frosty expression instantly dissipated as he smiled at Nicole. At first, Nicole just wanted to stir the pot a little to scare them, not expecting Sean to stand up for her. She now felt a little fonder of this strange brother. It felt good to have a brother. Okay. Nicole got in the car, and Sean drove her and Mrs. Wallace Sr. away, leaving behind everyone looking in surprise and envy. The Rolls-Royce soon arrived at Nicole's little house, where she and her grandmother lived together. Sean followed Nicole to pick up her luggage. There were only a few things that Nicole had with her: a notebook, a school bag, and a few pieces of clothing. Less is more. When we get to San Giotto, we will buy you new ones. Sean said thoughtfully, not wanting Nicole to overthink. I don't like too many things, Nicole said while holding her grandma. She had always been averse to trouble, so she liked it simple. When the driver heard this, he was so shocked that his eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. As the general manager of Riddle Corporation, people were scrambling to please Sean. Yet, this girl rejected him when he offered to buy her things for the first time. Thinking of the fate of those who had offended Sean previously, the driver did not dare to make a sound but stood by the side of the car, trying to reduce his sense of presence. But to his surprise, Sean just let out a nonchalant smile, doting on Nicole like no tomorrow. No problem. The driver could not be more surprised. Sean seemed to be very gentle with his lost and found sister. The treatment he gave to this sister was something not even the existing sister could enjoy. Before getting into the car, Nicole repeatedly told her grandmother not to see them out. Her usual emotionless eyes turned gentle as she said, Grandma, I will come back to see you. Okay. Mrs. Wallace Sr. nodded with tears in her eyes and then reluctantly let go of Nicole's hand and watched her get into the car. Ads by Pub Future. Kogda ona nachala tansivat. Vsi shai posvora chivili. Kogda ona nachala tansivat. Vsi shai posvora chivili ad. As the car drove on, Nicole retracted her gaze only when Mrs. Wallace Sr. grew smaller and smaller before disappearing in the rearview mirror. If you want, you can take her to San Giotto and live with her. I will arrange a place for her to settle down, Sean said with concern when he saw the pain in her eyes. It is okay. Everyone knows each other in the small town. She will not get used to it when she goes to San Giotto. Otherwise, she would have asked her grandmother to go with her a long time ago. Not expecting that Nicole was so thoughtful, Sean started to feel sorry and like her even more. He said nothing further and gave her some space. Nicole looked out the window as the town she had been living in was getting farther and farther away behind her. After leaving her grandmother, she would no longer have to conceal herself. The car drove on for hours before they finally reached San Giotto. Here we are. Dad and Mom are waiting for you. Sean pointed toward the Riddle family house. She did not know who the Riddle family was, but judging by the manor and the massive house that no ordinary people could afford, she could tell that they must be super rich. But Nicole was not as excited and surprised as girls from other ordinary families would react. She just nodded gently. After the rest of them got out of the car, she followed Sean into the house. As she walked past the oil painting gallery by the door, the family butler gave her a tour and explained the famous paintings, all of which were of great value. Nicole looked at them and thought to herself quietly, not revealing anything on her face, 2 of these famous paintings were fake, but the quality of the imitation was not half bad. No one except her and 2 other experts in the world could tell that these 2 paintings were fake. After a while, they came to a hall where Nicole saw 3 people. A couple, neatly dressed, was sitting on the sofa and a young girl about her age was on the side. Grandpa, Mom, Dad, I have brought my sister back. As soon as Sean's voice trailed off, Gloria Holder and Daniel Riddle saw a tall girl walk in behind Sean. The girl was slim, her skin delicate like gelatin. Although she dressed simply, she was graceful with beautiful eyes. People simply could not take their eyes off her when they saw her. The moment Gloria saw Nicole, her eyes welled up instantly. It is her. It is my daughter. Chapter 3. Bloodline was something amazing. Even though Gloria had not seen Nicole for many years, she could recognize the girl in front of her to be Nicole, her biological daughter. At first glance, Nicole also had this special feeling. So, when Gloria rushed over and hugged her, she did not resist. Oh, Nicole, I have finally found you. Gloria choked up. It was my fault for not protecting you well enough. I was to blame for your abduction. So, her abduction was real. Nicole used to wonder why her family abandoned her. Was it because she was a daughter? Now knowing that her loved ones cared about her, Nicole's heart softened, and the look on her face was not as stony as when they first met. Mom, let's sit down first. We have come all the way home, and she should be tired by now. Sean reminded Gloria thoughtfully. Right. I am just too happy. Gloria agreed but did not let go of her grip. She sat Nicole down. Seeing the entire family surrounding Nicole, a hint of jealousy flashed in the eyes of the girl next to them, but the girl quickly put on a smile. Nicole must be thirsty. Let me pour you a glass of water. Only then everyone remembered the girl, Nora Riddle. Seeing Nora so thoughtful, Gloria could not help but feel warm-hearted. Nora is so thoughtful. Nora looked a little bashful as she said, my sister has just returned from the countryside. I should take care of her more. Thanks. Nicole shot her a glance as she took the glass from Nora. Sean noticed Nicole's gaze and made the introduction. Nicole, this is Nora, whom I have mentioned on the way. Ads by Pub Future. AHH. Nicole responded. Sean mentioned that Gloria and Daniel had not continued to look for Nicole because they had found a child with a birthmark behind her ear in the 3rd year of Nicole's abduction. So, they mistook Nora as their daughter and did not continue the search. It was not until recently that the police suddenly informed them that the DNA data uploaded years ago had a match. The Riddle family knew they had identified the wrong person, but Nora had been in the Riddle family for so many years, and Gloria and Daniel could not bear to send her away summarily. So, they let Nora stay, promising to help her find her family later. In other words, they would need to spend some time under the same roof. Nice to meet you, Nicole. Nora held out her hand with a friendly smile. Nicole had a cold temperament and did not like physical contact with people. She was not too warmed up to seeing her parents again, let alone facing strangers. So, she ignored Nora's hand and just nodded at her. Nice to meet you. Nora's hand stayed in the air, and she looked at Gloria and Daniel with a hint of hurt feeling in her eyes. It was like Nicole had bullied her. Sean frowned. Nicole is introverted. Please don't mind. Nora bit her lip with a stoic but thoughtful look. I understand. I have lived using her identity for so many years. She has a reason to hate me. I am fine, Sean. Nora's words instantly had everyone's attention on her. No, Nora, don't overthink. Gloria looked at Nora, feeling sorry for her. Even though Nora was not her biological daughter, she had raised her and still loved her. Nicole smirked, hating to see Nora making a fuss while saying hello. This person was really interesting. You look hurt and assume that I hate you while saying hello. If it weren't for the presence of my parents and brothers, they might have thought I bullied you. The other 3 people stayed silent upon hearing what Nicole said. Ads by Pub Future. Когда она начала танцевать, все посворачивали. Когда она начала танцевать, все посворачивали. Ad. At first, Sean furrowed his brow when he heard what Nora had said, but now, his frown had eased up, and he looked with appreciation at his newfound sister in front of him. Daniel also realized something, and he glanced at Nora and said, well, Nicole has just returned. Don't get too sensitive. Nora bit her lip and glanced at Nicole. At first, she thought that since Nicole was from the countryside, she must be a typical country bumpkin. But Nicole turned out to be extremely beautiful and a tough opponent. Nora collected herself and immediately apologized. It was my fault. I am sorry that I was being too sensitive. You are right, Nicole. I shouldn't assume too much. Seeing Nora's tactful response, Nicole did not pursue the matter further. She looked back at the elders and asked, where is my room? I would like to unpack my stuff. Gloria got up with a smile. On the 2nd floor. Let me show you. Thank you. Nicole nodded and went upstairs with Gloria and Daniel. The happy smile of the family of 3 stung Nora's eyes. Before Nicole returned, all the favors of her parents were hers. But now, when they knew she was not their biological daughter, they gave all their love to Nicole. Nora, Sean suddenly spoke. Nora immediately fought back the emotion in her eyes and smiled. What's up, Sean? Sean took a hard look at Nora, hoping that the dismal look he had just seen in her eyes was not true. Nicole has just returned. Your second brother and I are busy at work, and your third and fourth brothers are in school. I need you to take care of Nicole for a few days before she gets to her new school. It was Nicole again. Nora was upset but still put on a smile. Sure, Sean, you can count on me. Sean was relieved. I have also passed your DNA data to the police, and I believe there will be results soon. Don't worry. All right. Nora's voice was unnatural as hatred grew inside her. Were they so desperate to kick her out of the family so that they could be reunited as a family? Chapter 4. Nora gritted her teeth quietly as her resentment of Nicole grew even more. Sean was really busy. He headed back to his office right afterward. Gloria dragged Nicole into a room that faced east on the second floor. The corner of Nicole's mouth twitched when she saw everything inside the room was rose pink. Very girly. We don't know what you like, but thinking that you are also a girl, we asked Nora for advice, and she chose many things here for you. Gloria's eyes were filled with tenderness when talking about Nora. Ahem. Daniel was afraid that Nicole would think too much and quickly signaled to Gloria. Gloria came to her senses and became cautious when she spoke. Do you like it? Nicole had never been picky about these things, just that things were a little over the top for her, but she still accepted their kindness. Thank you. Gloria was relieved that her daughter still liked it, so she followed up and continued. Those gifts on the table are from your other brothers. They have all gone to work and school today, usually not coming back often, so they have left the gifts here in advance. It was so heartwarming to know that her brothers still had her at heart, Nicole thought. Gloria was afraid that Nicole did not know how to use the facilities in the room, so she showed her how to. After that, she sat Nicole down on the bed with an avuncular look on her face. This is your home, so please feel at ease. If you need anything, just tell me, okay? With her mother holding her hand, Nicole once again felt the closeness of this mother-daughter relationship. It felt a little uncomfortable, but it was also heartwarming. She could not help but nod her head awkwardly. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Daniel had said nothing, but he immediately broke out in a smile when Nicole called him Dad. Ads by Pub Future. The two chatted for a while, and then they left Nicole alone so that she could rest up. Nicole now felt extra relaxed lying in the bathtub. She had always wanted to install a bathtub at her grandmother's house but was afraid that her grandmother would be worried, thinking that her money came from an unknown source. So, she really had not gotten the chance to do it even though she had the money. She could not take care of her grandmother anymore after coming to San Giotto, but at least, she did not have to hide her identity anymore. After taking a bath, it was not yet dinner time. Nicole planned to take a stroll outside to familiarize herself with the environment and make her work easier in the future. But before she could leave, a maid approached and invited her to the living room. As soon as she came downstairs, she saw an old man sitting on the sofa. Daniel saw Nicole and immediately beckoned her over to sit down. Nicole, this is your grandpa. Nicole had been living in a small town, but she had come into contact with many people, especially those from the upper social class. The old man looked over 70, but was still in good health. He had that authoritative persona typical of a patriarch of a family elder in him. Nicole bowed her head slightly as she greeted Mr. Riddle Sr. with respect. Hello, Grandpa. Mr. Riddle Sr. responded, then studied Nicole carefully before retracting his gaze. She really looks like Sean and other brothers. I asked you to do a DNA test previously, but you didn't listen. Mr. Riddle Sr. did not mention who, but there was no difference from saying Nora's name aloud. Yet he did not care but continued. Since the real one is back now, when are you going to send the fake one away? Nicole was startled slightly. It looked like Mr. Riddle Sr. did not like Nora. Ads by Pub Future. Когда она начала танцевать, все шаи посворачивали. Когда она начала танцевать, все шаи посворачивали. Dad, what you said will hurt Nora dearly. Gloria could not bear to hear that. Mr. Riddle Sr. did not look at her. If it were not for her, my granddaughter would not have lived out there for so many years. Our family has raised her for so many years, and we have never asked her to pay back. How can it hurt? Mr. Riddle Sr. knew what he was talking about, and that made Nicole respect him. Daniel saw Nora's awkward expression and said, Nora, why don't you return to your room first? Okay. As reluctant as Nora was, she did not want to stay here and get humiliated, so she hurried back to her room. Dad, Sean is in the midst of searching for Nora's parents. She will be sent back to her parents once we find them. Daniel tried to reassure Mr. Riddle Sr. Mr. Riddle Sr. frowned. Are you still keeping her at home if you can't find her parents? Gloria was stunned for a moment, looking in a pickle. Dad, I know that you are kind to us, but Nora has lived with us for so many years. I don't want her to leave without a home. Nicole looked at Gloria, whose sincere expression told her that Gloria was a kind and soft-hearted person. Mr. Riddle Sr. hesitated for a moment but still said resolutely, 3 months. At most 3 months. She must be sent away. I don't want people to laugh at the Riddle family that we have raised children for others. Daniel understood Mr. Riddle Sr.'s concern and nodded. Dad, don't worry. I will find Nora's parents soonest. Mr. Riddle Sr. nodded. Meanwhile, no one noticed Nora was hiding in the corner upstairs, staring at Nicole angrily. Mr. Riddle Sr. had never liked her from the beginning. Now that Nicole was back, she became a complete joke. She would definitely make Mr. Riddle Sr. realize that she was 1,000 times better than that country girl. Mr. Riddle Sr. looked back at Nicole. The longer he looked, the more he liked her. After all, she was his biological granddaughter. When the other old guys talked about their granddaughters next time, he could finally join them and talk about his precious granddaughter. I heard you went to high school at Great Oak. How was your academic performance? Dad, the quality of education in small towns is no way as good as ours here, so don't put pressure on her. Knowing Mr. Riddle Sr. was a straight talker, Gloria came to Nicole's defense, afraid that the question was too hard for Nicole to handle. Chapter 5. After all, there was a vast difference between the quality of education in small towns and San Giotto. Mr. Riddle Sr. frowned upon hearing that. Gloria had a point. What good teachers could a school in a small town have? Mr. Riddle Sr. took a deep breath, put down his teacup, and looked at Daniel with a serious face. Arrange a school for Nicole as soon as possible. The children of the Riddle family should not be left behind. Nicole raised an eyebrow slightly as she could tell that Mr. Riddle Sr. was bold in his decision and quick in action, which was a trait she liked. It was just that things like grades were. Just then, Daniel had already made a guarantee. I know, Dad. I will arrange it. Mr. Riddle Sr. nodded and looked at Nicole again. I know the quality of education in small towns is not ideal, but all my grandchildren are in the top 5 of the grades in every exam. You can't let me down. You know. Seeing that Mr. Riddle Sr. cared so much about results, Nicole had no choice. Don't worry, Grandpa. She would not want to lose face herself, even if it was not for him. Ads by Pub Future. Good girl. Seeing Nicole's confidence and decorum, Mr. Riddle Sr. was very happy. He ordered the family butler. I will go back today, and in a few days, you are to take Nicole back to my house so everyone will have a meal together. Daniel and Gloria's faces changed. Dad, is that necessary? Mr. Riddle Sr. had 4 sons. The eldest son was a business wizard, the second a business magnate, the third a banking giant. Only Daniel, because of poor health, had not been involved in the business of Riddle Corporation, but moved out early to have his own life. So was the reason his relationship with his 3 brothers was less close, and they rarely interacted with each other. They would only head over to Mr. Riddle Sr's house during his birthday and festive seasons. Even then, every time they got together, Gloria and Daniel would inevitably be taunted by the other 3 couples. Gloria had had enough. Nicole's return was a good thing, but the thought of her daughter having to face these people with her made her feel bad. Dad is right. Nicole has just returned, and all family members need to get to know each other. Daniel said indifferently. Besides, I plan to send Nicole to Royal Creek Institute, and I need eldest brother's help. The Royal Creek Institute, divided into a university and a high school, was the most outstanding educational institution in San Giotto, and the quality of education was guaranteed. Just that entry criteria were also high. Daniel wanted nothing less for his daughter, and so he was adamant about getting her into Royal Creek Institute. Is Royal Creek Institute good? Nicole squinted slightly, not having much knowledge about this school, but she knew someone there, at least. Of course, it is the best school in San Giotto. Your brothers are all attending that school. If you have also entered the high school of Royal Creek Institute, they can take care of you. Daniel said affectionately. Royal Creek Institute is good, indeed. But, when Dad asked Damien to help Samuel get a place in the school last time, his wife was very reluctant. This time she would be even more reluctant, I guess, Gloria said with concern. Why don't we think of another way? The Holder family also had some connections. Gloria had to give it a shot for the sake of her daughter. It is all right. Damien and his wife are trouble-averse, but they are not bad people. They will just grouse about it. All I need is for Nicole to get a place in Royal Creek Institute. Daniel whispered. He would do everything he could. Ads by Pub Future. Когда она начала танцевать, все шаи посворачивали. Когда она начала танцевать, все шаи посворачивали. Ad. Daniel. Gloria was grateful, but it also pained her to see him having to do that. Seeing her parents were willing to do anything for her, Nicole blinked, unsure if she should tell them she knew someone in Royal Creek Institute. Just then, Mr. Riddle Sr. spoke. Daniel is right. Damien will help. Even if they were reluctant to do it, Nicole still has my support. Fear not. Mr.